In collective bargaining states, you belong to your unions, but in Alabama, where you have to prove yourself, you really have to prove your work and your passion for what you do to make sure that you have people joining your association or your local.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We have on the line David Harer, president of the Professional Firefighters of Alabama and a member of the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF Local 1853, right here in Huntsville, Alabama. Brother Harer, welcome to the Valley Labor Report. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. We've been talking for a while, and you've known Adam for years. Y'all go way back. So really excited to finally have this conversation. Let's start, I guess, at the beginning. I think that makes sense for a place to start. How did you become a firefighter?
I know it seems kind of funny. It says I always just wanted to do this. I remember trying out when I lived back in Washington when I was 21, and never got hired on there. Just different career choices or changes and stuff like that, and tried back out again when I was 27, and I'm in my 22nd year now, and it's still the best job I ever had in my life.
That's fantastic. So you came from Washington, is that right? Are you not from Alabama?
Yes, sir. I was actually born and raised in Seattle, Washington. Lived there till I was 21.
Okay, gotcha. What brought you to Alabama then? I'm curious.
Honestly, it was the first wife.
Okay. Well, there you go. We're glad to have you. It's Washington's loss, I think, that we got to keep you.
Even after separation, I didn't want to move back. Alabama's the place I've been since. Never thought about moving anywhere else.
Well, that's great. We're glad to have you. Very big fixture here in the community and in the state. And so you're, like I said, you're president of the state, firefighters union, and you're also a member of the local here in Alabama. Can you talk to listeners about the IAFF? What is that, and how do people join and stuff?
Well, you have to be what's known as a career professional firefighter to join the International Association of Firefighters. And they're based out of Washington, D.C., with our president, Ed Kelly, from Boston, and our secretary treasurer, Frank Lima, from Los Angeles. And I can't tell you exactly how many cities we operate. Pretty much every city has a paid professional department is represented by the International Association of Firefighters, and just over 350,000 members across the U.S. and Canada.
Wow, that is a lot. I didn't realize how many members it had, but I guess that makes sense. Like you said, I mean, even the IAFF represents firefighters, even in, deep red, typically you would think of as non-union jurisdictions. The IAFF typically has a local there. And so I guess that's not as surprising as maybe you would initially think, but 350,000 members across the U.S. and Canada, that's a lot of folks.
Yes, sir, it is, especially, and that's where, honestly, issues with labor it needs to be in right to work states. Mm-hmm. I believe there's 26 states that are now right to work across the country. And Professional Firefighters of Alabama, we represent 38 cities across our state. So,
do you know how many members y'all have in the state?
Just over 2,500.
Gotcha. And so that gets us to, being in Alabama and being in a right-to-work state, and not only in a right-to-work state, being in the public sector in Alabama, where, we've talked about this on the program before, in Alabama and other states like it, there's no official right to collective bargaining. And so, you don't have a contract, like federal employees do or did at one point, or like people in the unions in the private sector do. And so what is that like? I guess just as a general proposition, what is it like to be a public sector union in a state like Alabama? How does that work?
Honestly, it's a blessing because with right to work, I mean, in collective bargaining states, you belong to your unions and your associations, but in Alabama, where you have to prove yourself, I find it to be a blessing. You really have to prove your work and the body of your work and your passion for what you do to make sure that you have member or people joining your association or your local. It's one thing that you constantly have to prove yourself. And with Alabama, you you don't have to have a contract. We actually have one city in Alabama, Tala, has a contract. It's the only city we have, and I know that some, like our brothers in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, they have memorandums of understanding, not set contract, but kind of an understanding between management and their body. But no, I find it, very rewarding and challenging to work and maintain membership here in South or in right to work states, because at any moment, if someone gets upset or just doesn't like the way things, they just get back out without any kind of recourse whatsoever. So as a leader, it's very rewarding, very challenging. It keeps you moving forward.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes. I think, there is something to that. I think that, I'm always impressed when locals have high density rates in right to work states. I know that ULA, just down the street from us, the machinists are the union there, and they're obviously same state as us. They're a right to work state, and they have like a 99% membership rate in the unit. And at least at one point, I don't know if this is still true, but at one point, the only people that were not members of the union were people that the union had expelled because they scabbed during the strike in 2019. And so I think, that's, I don't know, what is y'all's rate here in Huntsville and across the state? I don't know if you know across the state. That might not be something that you know off the top of your head, but what's it like in Huntsville?
Yeah, in Huntsville, I want to say density runs right around 75 to 80%. And on that is just based on, we've had a lot of recruiting classes in the last couple of years. Before, it would be 1 or 2 years before you'd have another, we call rookie or cadet school. Right. And so this year, I think Huntsville put out 3 of them with over 60 to 70 new hires just in the last year. But overall, most of our cities have a density, or most cities we represent have a density over 70 to 80%. I mean, I know Madison's shoot right at 70. Birmingham is 85%. But most of our cities that we represent are well above 50% as far as density.
That's great to hear. And so what do the, what is the day-to-day kind of stuff? If you're not, you don't have a contract, or at least most of your locals don't. You said that there was one that does, but if, the day-to-day sort of thing is not taken up by negotiating contracts and things like that, what does the union do from day to day?
Well, see, there's a lot of stuff you can do, especially in the fire service. Our health and well-being is always a major forefront for everything we do. So we can work on cancer initiatives to make our bodies healthier. Physical fitness routines. Lately, we've been coming on with peer support and resiliency classes. As far as treating our members with PTSD. Professional Firefighters of Alabama in 2017 gathered in Birmingham. Was 27 people attended a peer support class, which turned into a peer support program across the state, which thankfully the Alabama Fire College took over, because we were completely overwhelmed, because we offered it statewide. It started with 9 guys that were certified, and we had a couple guys that had over 90 contacts in such a short amount, like within 3 months. So there's always something you can be doing to better the fire service, instead of just as far as contracts. Like I said, there's cancer awareness, there's staying healthy, there's your mental aspects of it. One thing we want to start doing, and I believe I spoke with you before, is having a young firefighters conference, which, gets people involved instead of just sitting back until it's time to the president of the local, or it's time to retire and you don't know where to go. We want to get younger people involved and more active in their union to take those initiatives. That way, if there's a turnover, you just keep going without even missing a beat. There's a video I love, and I know you won't be able to show it, but if you ever look it up, it's Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. They play him a song he's never heard before in his life. And it was, I can't remember the name of the band off the top of my head, and they gave him earphones and the music, or the guitar and the voice, and they let him play the drums. And after 30 seconds, it was like he would play the song like he created the song. He didn't miss a beat. I believe that's what some of the labor should be like, where there's a turnover or someone retires, that no one skips a beat. It's like a natural thing. There's no learning there's no learning process. So that's one of the things we also look to do, is just getting our younger members ready to go when it's time for them to step up and be leaders in their locals.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Absolutely. I mean, fundamentally, what unions are is an organization of workers trying to make their lives better at work, typically as it relates to work, but even outside of work. We talked about just this morning how the Machinists Union and other unions in Texas are assisting folks that have been affected by the floods over in that state, and that's like a super common thing that unions will raise money for their members that have been affected by natural disasters and things like that. And so when you think about it like that, as that a union is a group of workers that is dedicated to making their lives better, making their workplace better, then it's pretty clear, actually. There's a lot of stuff that you can do outside of, contract management, which is important. I think it would be great. I think everybody should have the right to negotiate a good union contract, public sector or private sector. But if you don't, there's so much stuff that you can be doing, clearly.
Yes, sir. We actually, last year, we purchased a disaster relief trailer similar to other groups around Huntsville, around the state, because a funny thing about firefighters, when a natural disaster hits a certain location, be it hurricanes or tornadoes, the firefighter is actually not allowed to leave the station. They stay on duty until they give them the all clear. So when you have a tornado or hurricane that, takes out a firefighter's house or roof, he can't even get all the way from the station to put a tarp on it. So we actually bought a trailer this year and have an agreement with Home Depot that we can stock certain things and go to that person's house and take care of them. We say this is a family here, and it truly is. It's my brothers and sisters. Every third day, I spend 24 hours with these guys. I'm closer with some of these guys, than I am, my cousins and my relatives. So there's a lot more you can do. Negotiating is a very, very important thing, because at the end of the day, you have to make a good living to do what you want to do. But there are a lot more things you can do besides that to better firefighters' lives. And as well as when you do that, hopefully it carries on to the next generation of firefighters.
Absolutely. One of the things that y'all were able to do, and this has been a while ago, but I think this is how you met Adam. There was a big fight to save the retirement systems of Alabama. Would you mind telling us just, the Cliff Notes version of what happened there?
I will. It's actually, and Adam, thank you for being involved and stuff like that. I was thinking about that today. There's two things you can bring to a fight, being passionate and educated. And when we did that, Adam was both of them, and he was great to work with. But at the time of this, certain groups were going around the country, going to certain pension systems that had bad years or had a low funding ratio, and trying to change them to a lower plan, less of a benefit when you retire, to basically make money off of. Right now with retirement systems in Alabama as a whole, when we make a trade, it's treated as one trade. In 401k plans or a cash balance plan was what they were trying to propose for the state. Each person has an individual account, so now there's a commission being based off 187,000 people instead of just the one. And of course, it goes to line their pockets. At the end of the day, you may not end up with enough to retire or work to your 75. But they were going through certain states to make those changes, and they were very successful in Kentucky, and they changed their plan. But when they came here, they came armed for that year. It was, well, I won't say armed, but they had prepared. They brought 16 lobbyists from D.C. and New York and Los Angeles, and they all went down to Montgomery and tried to lobby to make these changes. And the way this issue started, or the defense of it, was kind of funny, because although we gained steam and we had thousands of people supporting this because we proved them wrong, it started with two firefighters, myself and Jeff Statham. Mm-hmm. And when we walk into a meeting, it's two firefighters against 16 lobbyists, accountants, financial people, and we're trying to tell them no, they're wrong, the firefighters are right. And they're kind of looking at this this hesitancy, like, so you mean tell me you're smarter than the guy who came here from New York, whose livelihood is making numbers? I'm like, yes, sir, it was. And we started gathering, people started rallying around us, Adam being one of them with his association. And it all came to be honestly a truly amazing thing. And I've said this before that I don't think that if it happened the way it happened, I don't think it could happen in many other states other than Alabama, because the passion, the pride that people in this great state have for themselves. And so we gathered around, and it got to be where they realized that after all this, we were educated and we were passionate. And when we started speaking to our legislators, it wasn't just, don't change my retirement, please. We gave them numbers.
Right.
And slowly we found like certain flaws in the stuff that they're having, because, now it's a common thing now when you look at like ALEC or others organizations across this country. Now you can find their cookie cutter legislation online. You basically fill in the state and you go from one to one. By the time it was a rarity, and we had all that information already. And it was an awesome thing. We still, with Save RSA Retirement on Facebook, we're still the largest group in this country dedicated to pension resist our pension fighting for our pensions. We have over 60,000 followers that are active, and we still, to this day, approve every person. You don't just get to click and join the group.
Right.
So it was a great thing, and they haven't been back since. And I hope if they come back, they're going to find that same passionate, educated group. But it was truly an amazing thing to be part of. When you have when some of the professors that were advocating for these groups out of Troy University, giving these numbers, and we flooded the chancellor's office at Troy University, where, we thought about sending flowers to the secretary who was answering the phone all day, because she said it was just one phone call after another.
Right.
It was really a great thing.
Yeah, it's really a cool example of how, just normal working people can beat back some of these attempts to take money from people. Is fundamentally what it was about. It was taking money from hardworking teachers and firefighters and putting it into the pockets of some bigwig, managing a hedge fund, and that's not what most people anywhere in the country would want, including folks in Alabama. So I'm really appreciative of the work that you did, obviously for your members, but for for the state too. I think that gets us about where I wanted to be. So, Brother Harer, I don't know, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we let you go?
I'm sure once I hang up, I'll think of something. But a funny note about the end of the battle for the retirement systems was the lobbying firm had 16 members I think it was 2016. In 2017, the lobbying firm was down to one member, and they were renting an office space from the retirement systems of Alabama. So I thought that turned out to be very funny.
That's fantastic. So it ended up you took money from them, and that's a great. That's fantastic. I love that. Brother David Harer, president of the Professional Firefighters of Alabama, member of IAFF Local 1853 here in Huntsville. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
All right. We'll talk soon. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.